focus and the solution for the liberals in Washington, and just adjust that a little bit and everything will be all right. Of course, we're talking about, once again, targeting the rich. My advice for anybody in the middle class, don't stand anywhere near the target. Wouldn't it be nice that instead of arguing about how to divide the pie up again in this country, that we could talk a little bit more and work together a little bit more in making the pie larger? Wouldn't that be a wonderful thing to do? On globalization, we're not afraid of it. It's a good thing for America. We do more things better than anybody else. We have more innovation. We invest more in innovation in this country and in our service economy than anybody in the country, anybody in the world. Free trade and free markets have done more to cause prosperity in this world than anything that any central planner could ever come up with, and America is the best example of that. If we want to help, people talked about aid to underdeveloped countries. If we want to help our friends in South America, for example, in Africa and other places, we need to lower trade barriers. We need to have more trade. Democracy is a good thing. Sometimes, though, we need to focus on the basis on which democracy can operate. Democracy can be one vote, one time, and it's over with. We need to promote things like the rule of law, market economies, and free trade. Any country that's ever tried that has prospered. Any country that hasn't has not. So we're doing some things right in this country. And we need to think about that and be proud of that fact. Be proud of our country. We also need to be big enough to acknowledge the things that are not going so right. Back in 2001, I was chairman of the Governmental Affairs Committee, and I was watching something that developed in this country for a long time. We were getting to a place where some very important functions of government were becoming almost inoperable, getting fraught with mismanagement and lack of accountability. I wrote about a 68-page report called Government at the Brink, documenting the waste, fraud, and abuse and mismanagement and lack of accountability that I saw at that time. I handed it off to Mitch Daniels, who was head of OMB at the time, later became governor of Indiana. We started making plans about what we were going to do about that. Shortly after that, 9/11 happened. Refocused everybody's attention for a good period of time, with a pretty good result, I might add. The fact that we haven't been attacked again in this country is no accident. But we have to get back and refocus on the reality that is now presenting problems for us in terms of national security. A lot of it simply, once again, has to do with the growth of government. Every bureaucracy that stays long enough grows, and every new bureaucracy that's created, one is created underneath it. You get good people coming into Washington to head an agency, head a department for a while. They're usually from around the country, wanting to come in and serve their country. Put them through a confirmation process. It costs them a fortune in accountants and lawyers' fees and 9 months before some committee arguing about them. And finally, if they get there to serve, they want to do something important for the country. They want to operate and engage in broad policy issues that they came to Washington to address, not fight their own bureaucracy, not spend all of their time in civil service proceedings with somebody that they thought needed to be fired. And so it goes on and on. And after a while, we wind up with departments that can't pass an audit, computer systems that can't talk to each other after spending hundreds of millions of dollars, intelligence systems that are failing, and people in over their heads. And yet, throughout all of this, we have a lot of people in Washington still today, sad to say, not all of one party, who, when they got a good idea, want to federalize things that have been under the state purview for years and years and years, depriving the nation of the experimentation and the diversity that's out there in the states. That's how we got welfare reform, because of state activity that was picked up. It worked, it was picked up and used. As the government goes bigger, I think our attitude ought to be to the federal government, do what you're supposed to be doing and do it competently, then we might give you something else to do. One of those things is border security. The immigration problem has to do with immigration, but it in large part has to do with national security. We live in a world now, we've inherited a world that is watching the attempted marriage between radical Islamic fundamentalism and nuclear technology. We live in a world where 40 countries have fissile material sufficient to make a nuclear weapon, and the bad guys are trying their best to get their hands on it. And we live in a country with porous borders and porous ports. It doesn't take a genius to put all that together and see the problem that we've got in this country. And I think that people are going to demand that that be addressed first. I don't think the 12 million illegal aliens that are here that are of concern are as much a concern to most people as the next 12 million and the next 12 million after that ad infinitum. We were told before that there was a solution to this if we'd just only pass a bill, and we did that in 1986, and now we're coming back with the same old stuff. And I don't think that people are going to respond to it until that border situation is addressed. Then I think people of goodwill can sit down and work out the rest of it together. We've got a good problem in this country, and that is we have the best medical system in the world. It's too expensive. We need to do something about that. There needs to be a lot of conversation about it. But in the meantime, we need to make sure that we don't destroy the best of something that man has ever created. It's keeping so many people alive so much longer. We're growing older as a society. Thank goodness. Thank God. But we're not producing enough young people, the workforce, to pay for the retirement plans that we have in this country, to pay for our Social Security and Medicare obligations. It's simply a matter of demographics. And if we continue on the present pace, before too long, it will sap all the revenues of the government, and our government will be nothing more than a transfer agent transferring wealth from one generation to the next. And the taxes necessary to fill that gap are going to be so backbreaking and astronomical on the young people trying to start out, buy that first home, pay their mortgage, raise their kids, that it will absolutely ruin our economy. Now, most of the folks in Washington, all the folks know about it. It's not a matter of lack of expertise, lack of knowledge, need more experts, need more experience up there, none of that. It's a matter of lack of will. And for the professional politician, there's nothing more dangerous than uncertainty and possibly doing something that somebody doesn't like. Never occurred to many of them to explain to people the necessity of doing something for the country. Might work. They operate on the basis that this generation is too greedy to do anything for the next generation and the generation after that. I think that's exactly the opposite of the truth. I think if a credible case is made to the American people that mom and dad and grandmom and granddad would be more than happy to make the adjustments necessary to protect their kids and their grandkids in the next generation if they're just given a chance.